Good evening, dear students. So today we'll talk about different type of perks. We have discussed about the meaning and everything. Perks is nothing, it's like extra benefit amenities. Benefit and amenities means the same thing. So apart from salaries, many employees they get extra benefit also. They get, say for example, some they get to use the car, some they get free lunches, some they even get free accommodation and all of those things. So those extra things which they get, those are termed as perks. Okay, so today we'll discuss about the different types of perks. Now perks are of three different types, like they fall in three categories. Okay, the first category is the perk which is not taxable, and second is which is taxable, and the third is which is taxable for some employee and for some employee it is not taxable. Okay, one more time I'll repeat. A is which is not taxable, exempted. B taxable, and C taxable for some, and for some it's not taxable. So today we'll discuss only A, that is perks which are exempted. So before discussing about the perks which are exempted from tax, let me tell you why do we need to study this. Okay, we need to study this because in the exams when they give you question on salary, they'll give you many types of perks, 15-16 in the question. Okay, then from those you have to know which one you should write in the solution and which one you should not write. If they will give you a perk which is exempted from tax, then that you should not write. So you have to know that, right? So that's why it becomes important for you to study this. Which one will go there while writing the solution, which one you don't have to write, which one you have to write, and how much you have to write. So for that we are studying perks. So the first part which we are doing, we'll discuss about the perks which are not taxable, which are exempted. That means if they give you in the question, you should not write in the solution. So today I'll be doing only part A so that you'll not get confused and you'll remember which one you should not write. Okay, so let's discuss part A thoroughly. So this is the one, the perk which is exempted for all employee, meaning they don't have to pay tax. The first one is free medical facility given by the employer. I've given you full note in the material in the classroom here itself. So in the classroom itself you can check the material. Okay, I've given everything very clearly here. I'm just keeping the points. Okay, so don't just refer to the video, you should study the material which I have given also. So the first one is free medical facilities which is provided by the employer. Now what happens, many a times employers, what they do, they give medical facility also, not just for the employee, for his wife also, and for his kids or anybody who is dependent. Like kids also, they are dependent. Sometimes when they are 18 plus they become independent, so only for the dependent kids. Okay, so wife, children who are dependent, even parents, brothers and sisters who are dependent upon the employer, upon him. So if the employer is providing any medical facilities, that is exempted, that will not be taxed, provided the treatment is taken from the hospital maintained by the employer, or if the hospital is maintained by the central government or state government, like those government hospitals. Okay, and if the treatment is given for the disease or ailment which is specified in rule 3A. Now this rule 3A, in rule 3A they have specified many sicknesses. Okay, those rule 3 also will study like cancer, and there are many sickness which has been written down in rule 3A. If those are the ailments, those are the sickness, then if the employer is providing medical facility, then it will not be taxed. Okay, that you have to remember. One more thing you have to remember is that if the employer has gone outside of India, in some foreign country abroad, for some treatment for himself or his wife or children or brother, sister, parents who are dependent, so in that case what happens, his amount which he has spent, sometimes what happens, the employer will reimburse. Now what is reimburse? Many of you don't know what is reimburse, so let me tell you what is reimburse. Okay, reimburse is like this. Suppose I fall sick or something, I go hospitalize myself, then I spent money on that, maybe I was hospitalized for 5 days and it's 50,000, so I pay the money. Later I can take reimbursement form from the hospital, and then I can come to the college, I give it to the principal, father principal, and then they return back the money. So that is reimbursement, meaning first you pay the money and later the employer will pay back. So that is reimbursement. Okay, so what happens many a times, employee also many a times they go for treatment outside of India, then their employer, not every time but sometimes the employer, they reimburse, they pay back the money they have spent in the outside of India. So those reimbursed also will be a perk, because they are getting some benefit apart from salary, they are getting those benefits, right? So those are perks, but that perk will not be taxable. Okay, if it's reimbursed, it becomes a perk, and that perk will not be taxable. Also, one more thing you have to remember is that if they are going outside of India, they have to stay somewhere, there will be expenditure, right? Some place, hotel, or they'll rent a house or something. So if those expenditure are also being reimbursed by the employer, that also will not be taxed, because that also will be like a perk, no? They're getting extra benefit. So those, if the employer has reimbursed, then that also will not be taxed, that is fully exempted, but up to the limit which is prescribed by RBI. They have set certain limit. From time to time they change the limit according to the budget and all, so up to that limit it is exempted. If the limit goes beyond, then there are other consequences. Okay, also to go out of the country, they have some expenditure in traveling and all also. So such traveling expenses will also be exempted, but there's a condition. That condition is that the total income of the employee should not be more than 2 lakhs. If it's more than 2 lakhs, then traveling expenses and all will be taxable. Now let's go to number 2. 2 is refreshment, free refreshment during working hours. So during working hours also, some employees, they provide refreshment like tea, snacks and all. So those small light refreshment and all, if the employer they provide, that is also like perk. Apart from salary, they are getting every day, they are getting something to eat, right? So that is also like benefit which has a value. Though it has a value and they are getting every day or every week, yet it will not be taxable. Refreshment, okay, remember, not meal. Refreshment, we are talking about refreshment. Refreshment means tea and snacks and cold drinks and all of those things. Just now I said not free meals, so let's talk about free meals. Now see, free meals also, they are exempted, but not for everyone, only for those who are employed at a remote area where there are no shops, nothing. So if the employer is providing free meal to a person, to the employer who is working in a remote area or offshore means away from the country or in a very remote area or far away, then only free meals are not taxable. Okay, just you have to remember this much. Now let's go to point number 3. Free recreational facilities. Now these free recreational facilities are those facilities which are provided by the employer to the employee for like to refresh their mind, like when they work too much, they need some break, something fun to do, like playing games and all. So if there's such facilities being provided and it has some value, then that becomes a perk. So this type of perks also, they are fully exempted from being taxed. Now let's discuss about point number 4, 5 and 6. 4 is provision of telephone, whether basic or cellular. So if employers are given some telephone or cellular, meaning mobile phone and all, for office use, then those are not taxable. Number 5, free meals provided in remote area or at offshore installation are fully exempted. This I've already spoken. So if free meal is provided because the employer is in remote area, then it's not taxable. And the 6th one, free education, training or refresher course for employee. Now for free education, you have to remember one figure. Okay, that is rupees 1,000 per month per child. Okay, so you have to remember this. So free education which is provided by employer from his own resources, who's engaged in such business, provided the value of such benefit does not exceed rupees 1000 per month per child. Apart from that, up to 1000 it's fully exempted. Also, if the employee himself is getting some education, higher education or training or refresher course in India or even abroad, and if the employer is paying for those education and training, then in that case also that becomes a perk and it is not taxable. It is exempted, fully exempted. Let's move on to point 7, that is leave travel concession. So if there's any leave travel and there's concession, that is fully exempted. Then free ration provided to the armed force, you know, right? Rationing and all. So if the armed force, they get free rationing, so those are also fully exempted. And if the government employees are posted abroad, point number 9, if they get some perquisite, those are also fully exempted. Number 10, so if the union minister or the leader of the opposition in parliament or some officer of the parliament, MPs and all, if they receive rent-free houses, then those are fully exempted. They are not taxed. And number 11, those Supreme Court and High Court judges also, conveyance means traveling facilities and all, they get, right? Cars and all, and those, and even resident, those are also not taxed. Now point 12. Now in many cases, employers, they provide buses or vehicles so that the employee can come from their house, their place to the employment place. So if such facilities provided, those are also not being taxed. Say for example, call center, night shift and all, they provide, right, buses and all. Sometimes even our college, they provide buses where we can travel and all of those, right? So those free conveyance and all, those are also not taxed. That is a perk and that is not taxed. Now point number 13. So if there's any contribution made by the employer for the employee for pension or deferred annuity scheme, in some scheme where they have to pay money monthly or in a yearly wise, okay, so those type of, and the benefit they'll receive later, so those type of contribution also, it is fully exempted, not be taxed. Now point number 14. So if there's any insurance scheme for the staff and group, and employer is contributing some money for that staff insurance also, that also will be fully exempted, okay. And the last one, number 15. Oh, I'm so sorry, not the last one, there are a few more. So number 15. So if the employer or the company is giving computer laptops, so those also will not be taxed. Why? Because common sense, right? Computer laptop, once you leave the job, you have to return back, so how can they be taxed? So this computer laptop, which are used for official or even personal use also, if they use, it's not taxed. Point number 16. So transfer of movable asset like computer or electronic items, anything which is very old, like 10 years old, and the employer has given to the employee free of cost, without consideration, means without charging anything, no money, nothing in exchange. So in that case, it's very old, valueless, right, mostly. So in that case, it will not be taxable. And point number 17. So if there's accident insurance premium and the employer is paying that premium, and the premium for that is paid such that the employer itself will benefit. Say for example, delivery boys and all. So if the employer, they travel for the company, travel for deliveries and all, right? So the risk of accident is because of the company itself, because of their work itself. So in that case, if the employer is paying, then it's not for the benefit of the employee, it's for the benefit of the employer. So that's why in that case, it will not be taxed. But if the accident insurance is benefiting the employee, not the employer, then it will be taxed, okay? Don't forget. Now point number 18, a very important point. It's a interest-free loan or loan at concessional rate, meaning if the employee has borrowed money from the employer, okay, that is a loan, right, when you borrow money, and if the employer is not charging any interest, that means he's not taking any extra money. If he has taken 18,000, return 18,000, no need to give anything above. Or if he is taking interest very less, very concessional rate, okay, in that case, that interest is not charging, so that becomes a perk, right? So that perk is fully exempted, not taxed. But there's one condition you have to remember, that is 20,000. The loan amount should not be more than 20,000. Also, if the loan he has taken is for some medical treatment for sicknesses or some ailment which is notified, like notified illness, okay, there are many notified illness under income tax, okay, say for example AIDS, cancer, and mental disorder, many are there. I have given down in the notes, you can go through. If he is taking loan for the treatment of those sicknesses, those illness, then in that case also it will be fully exempted, okay. And also if he is if in cases where insurance claim is received for the loan, then the difference between the rate of interest charged by the employer and the rate fixed by SBI, okay, if it's very minimal also, then it's fully exempted. Point number 19, if there are shares or debentures which are given at a concessional rate or free of cost under stock option approved by the central government, is fully taxable. Then if there are tax on the perks and the tax is paid by employer also, then that also will be fully exempted, okay. And if there's any rent-free accommodation given for remote areas, if the employer is staying in a very remote area or offshore areas, then those are also fully exempted. Those perks are not taxed. So that's it, only this much. Please remember all these points. Try to, not by heart, but try to remember, so that when you do the sums, it'll be easy for you to know that these are the things